Well, it is a beautiful day on Friday. Welcome to a special edition of the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful day. Come on in, come on in. I hope you guys have grabbed a snack, and I hope you guys have yourself something to drink. Of course, I got my tea. Good to see all of you joining. Just to let you guys know, the Jaybefaunt channel is also part of Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can find me there for Thursdays for the Sabby and JB show, and Sundays for the JB show. Also, if you guys have not already, have you guys considered giving a like to the stream, because you guys know exactly what is going to happen. It's going to be a really banger of a show today. So I hope you guys are ready and prepared. And don't forget to like and share and subscribe. So thank you so very much. Also, by the way, if you guys have not already, you guys can subscribe to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com, so you guys get email notifications whenever I write articles, upload clips, or go live just like here. So you guys have that there. And then I also do reactions and ask questions via video through QBounty. So you guys can go to qbounty.com/jaybefaunt. So you guys got that there too. So good to see all of you here. Everybody that's in the chat, I just want to say a big blanket hello. I want to be very respectful of my guest's time, because she is a very busy woman and she has things to do. So let's get into this. Hello, everybody that's in the chat. But what are we discussing today? It's going to get black in here, people. It's going to get very black. Let's talk about it. Black America's fight for equity. We're going to be talking to my comrade and sister from another mister. Sabby Sabs is joining me live on my channel. Good to see you. Cannons to the left of them. Cannons to the right of them. Cannons in front of them. And fury and thunder.
What's going on, JB? It's been a hot minute. I know
You
we were up
remember that
pretty.
from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yes, I do. I remember. I know we were up pretty late last night, because everything going on, but what's going on?
Ooh. Oh, look. So one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you was about the Black Americans, especially trying to gain equity in this country. But one of the things that cannot be remiss is that there's a huge contingent of Black Americans that have either been involved in the U.S. military, are either presently involved in the U.S. military, or thinking about getting involved in the U.S. military. And right now, as of last night, and pretty much all of independent media was on fire last night, was talking about Israel has struck Iran recently. And so we have now saw this morning, just hours later, that Iran has struck Israel back, and is going on right as we speak. So if we can kind of juxtapose what's going on, with this conflict between Israel and Iran, and how it will affect Black people. If you can give us like a 30,000-foot perspective, and plus, as somebody that is also from a military family, what are your thoughts regarding this in the Black community?
Yeah, I think people need to really get ready. I just looked at the oil prices again today. If I can share my screen, I can show it
Sure.
to you guys. Just over a
Mhm.
5-day period. So that people can see what has been happening with the price of oil.
Mhm.
So this is over 5 days. Notice how the price of oil, June 9th, June 10th, it was, relatively a lot lower, a little bit higher here on the 11th. But as you can see, it was actually the moment that Israel said they are preparing to strike Iran, the price of oil just exploded. Like it's high now, right? So I think something that's important to get people to understand when we're talking about how this is going to impact us, there's a lot of oil in Iran. And that's really what this is about. This is not about the US doesn't care about the Israeli people. This is all about Israel, its creation for the US, is to protect those resources in the Middle East. So Iran is sitting on a lot of oil.
Yeah.
So with this war that has just started between Israel and Iran, you're going to see the oil prices increase, and it'll probably stay that way for quite some time. So that could impact us as consumers. Those of us that if you have to drive to work and you have to get gas, that is going to have an impact on your wallet. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then there's the soldier perspective, because the reality is there are a lot of Black Americans that are in the military. I remember the military, they heavily would recruit in low income Black neighborhoods.
They do.
So people need to understand, like, the military is very diverse. There's a lot of Black people in the military. There's also, Latinos in the military. There are, I know, like, growing up in that community, like, that's why our schools were so diverse, because there's all different races within the military, but more importantly, a lot of Black people that are in the military in different capacities. Some may be a part of, the Air Force, Army, Marines, Coast Guard. Some may be a part of the National Guard, like, just different capacities of involvement. And what we are seeing now, the statement from Donald Trump, which most of us predicted last night, that it was a lie from Marco Rubio saying the U.S. had nothing to do with this. Israel is not going to strike Iran without the U.S. knowing. So this isn't just Israel. This is also the United States government. And that means also Donald Trump. Now, I believe this would have happened even if Kamala was president as well, because, again, she was backing and supporting Israel and said she wouldn't withhold weapons. She was also against Iran. So this is something that is, again, it's bipartisan. Both parties, at least in DC, when we look at Congress, they are against Iran. They are against Hamas, like, for the most part. And very pro-Israel. Now, there are a couple of politicians that have spoken out against these types, of wars. But for the most part, the parties support Israel and what Israel does. So everyone who has this perspective in their mind that Donald Trump tried to work things out peacefully, that has all been reported today as false. He is making it very clear himself. Even on Fox News, they even said that he was well aware prior to the strike that Israel was going to strike Iran. So what that means is that for all the people who still supported Donald Trump and thought he was this peace, candidate or peace politician, as many of us at RBN have tried to tell you, even during the election, Donald Trump is not anti-war. You can go back to his first presidency when he was the one that killed Soleimani. Don't forget, Syria strikes under Donald Trump. So no, he didn't start new wars, but he didn't end any either. Yeah. Now, he can no longer say no new wars started under my presidency. He can't say that. So it's out in the open. This war is the U.S. and Israel attacking Iran. And it's because they want the resources. And that's what people have to understand. Now, if they really cared so much about Jewish people, they wouldn't be attacking Iran, because the numbers show that Iran has a very large Jewish population. So this is how you know it's not about that, folks. And I just want people to get ready, like, seriously, because this is going to have an impact on us. And I feel like we said this before about how we needed to move away from these resources, how we needed to stop, like, depending on oil, and we needed to find other ways, because you see what's happening now. And as JB and I just saw, Iran just broke through the Iron Dome.
Yeah. In fact, here it is. Iran, their Twitter on Iran military says, "We've arrived." This is Tel Aviv right here, folks. That's Tel Aviv. I can't show the actual video, because if I showed the video, we can get in trouble here on YouTube. But this is what's going on right now. And Iran is not messing around. One of the reasons why I say Iran's not messing around is because they recently just put out a tweet in Hebrew against the Israelis. Yeah. That means it's directed towards them. And so it's about to get real. Now, There's also another report that's going around. Now, I'm not exactly sure how legitimate this is, but they're saying that North Korea is also in the wings to help Iran to defend against Israel. So it's just like what you said last night, that this is going to turn into World War III. Because if North Korea joins in, then guess who else has to join in?
Russia.
Russia. Yep. And if Russia joins in, America's going to be like, let me in. And then who are they going to send to fight for this? To fight really on behalf of the corporate dictators? They'll be sending those of us who are highly melanated, especially those of us who are in lower income neighborhoods. They're going to recruit our kids, our young people to die. For who? For settler colonialists? For colonizers?
For a supremacist state. For a supremacist state. They're going to be sending black people over there to die for a supremacist state. Yeah, it's crazy and wild when you think about it. And another thing, a little tidbit I want to give people, the U.S. Congress can institute the draft again. Don't forget the legislation that was, passed about a year and a half ago, that they wanted to make it that 18-year-olds are automatically registered, including, I think they're looking at also adding women as well. So just keep in mind, like we told you guys, that military recruitment's been struggling with numbers. They've been able to try to get past that by recruiting more females to make up for the loss. But I'm here to tell you, if World War III breaks out, like, number one, this is not a game. The U.S. is going to need as many soldiers as possible. So don't be surprised if there is a push to re-implement the draft. That's how ugly this can get. Again, all of it for a supremacist state and for oil.
Yeah. Here also is the alleged report out of pamphlets says breaking: North Korea will provide military support to Iran. So this is really it's becoming a very dire situation, because Iran is not a nuclear state. No matter what Israel says, Iran does not have nuclear weapons, right? North Korea does, and Israel does. And so,
and Russia, I think.
Yes, and Russia. And so the capabilities of North Korea, Russia, and together with Iran is way too much for Israel to handle. Israel has around 9 million citizens. Iran has over 90 million citizens. So Iran outnumbers Israel 10-1. You haven't even factored in North Korea or Russia.
Yep.
And then China decides to do something. Oh, it's over.
There's no way I see the West winning this. Like I really don't. I don't see, even if the US does helps Israel and sends troops there, there's no way I see the West winning this. I just don't, because we wouldn't just fight Iran. Like, don't forget about Ansar Allah. Don't forget about Yemen. You're talking about Iran, Yemen, Russia, North Korea, and possibly China. Like, we could not win that. People have to remember, Israel is small.
Yes.
Iran is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And Iran also is extremely capable, because Iran, when doing a measured response after what Israel did, they were able to penetrate the defenses in the Iron Dome.
Yeah, and that was measured. You can see the video on X if you're looking for it. There's a number of videos that show the actual strike, but that's nothing compared to what they can do.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's why it's important for us to keep our eyes peeled on what's going on, because this definitely can affect the Black community. in a very large way. So I just wanted to start off with that because I think that that was very important. So if we can, I would like to shift gears a little bit because there was a story that came out about, I say about 10 days ago, 9, 10 days ago. And I wanted to share this article and get your thoughts on it. So a lot of times people, of course, you and I, we talk about reparations, quite frequently. We talk about reparations for freedmen, for Black Americans. And so there has been an article that recently came out, and I want to share this about the mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma. It says Tulsa mayor proposes $100 million reparations plan for descendants of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre. Proposed trust focuses on economic recovery, education, and housing nearly 105 years after massacre. Were you able to cover the story? I can't remember if you were.
When they were denied the reparations, I covered that story.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this is not that long of a read. So I have my thoughts, but I want to get your thoughts first after I read it. But it begins, it says Tulsa's first Black mayor proposed the fact that it has the first Black mayor in 2025. Okay, I'm going to move on from that. But it is sad. Anyways, Tulsa's first Black mayor proposed creating a $100 million private trust as part of a reparations plan for the impact of the Tulsa race massacre, which took place more than 100 years ago. Mayor Monroe Nichols IV, elected mayor in November, says the trust will be used to provide scholarships and housing to the descendants of those impacted by the massacre. He clarified that the trust would not involve direct cash payments. However, says for over 104 years, the Tulsa race massacre has been a stain on our city's history. The massacre was hidden from history books only to be followed by the intentional acts of redlining, a highway built to choke off economic vitality, and the perpetual underinvestment of local, state, and federal governments. Now is the time to take the next big steps to restore. So my question is, while it's all fine and good that, they do things like scholarships and housing, right? Which is fine. What about those of us who don't want to go back to school, who may be descendants of those impacted?
Right.
What about those who may be on the older side that, they're retired already? What about them? Give me your thoughts, please.
So it appears he got the memo, right? What some of these mayors and as you'll see, and these cities are trying to do is they're trying to make a push for reparations that's not actual reparations, right? So what they're
Mhm.
doing is instead of repairing the debt that's owed, they're offering programs, right? Like, so here's a program here that you can do, something to help you, or etc. And that's intentional. That's so everybody doesn't benefit, so that everyone that's a descendant of slavery does not benefit. To your point, what if you already have a college degree? What if you don't want to attend college? Like, what if you wanted to, like, I don't know, like, what if you're a manager at a store, you work at a store and you're assistant manager and your goal is to become manager? You see what I mean? So not everyone wants to go to college. So that's on purpose. This is similar to what Governor Wes Moore is trying to
Mhm.
do, like offering entrepreneurship opportunities. And I want to be very clear about this. There's nothing wrong with entrepreneurship, but I think it is a farce to convince people that entrepreneurship means that you're going to be successful and make a lot of money. Most entrepreneurs don't make a lot of money. I just want everyone to know that. Like, so if you hear someone say they're an entrepreneur, that doesn't mean they're making six figures. Hell, that doesn't even mean they're making $60,000 a year. Most of the people that own their own business are not making a lot of money, because you have to remember, you have overhead, you have the taxes that you have to pay. If you have a staff member, don't forget you got to pay staff. If your business isn't online and it's in a brick and mortar, don't forget you got to pay utilities, electricity, things like that. So I think it's a farce to give Black people the impression that going into entrepreneurship is how you're going to be successful, because most people are not. So there's that. The other part about that is that they don't want to give you cash reparations, which is what you're actually owed, because they're trying to find a way to say, look, we gave reparations, so you should be happy. Look at what we did for you, without actually giving you reparations. They're trying to water down what reparations actually is. And they know that, we were promised 40 acres and a mule. They know that. They know that there is a debt that is owed to freedmen. However, I would point to some of the reparations that happened for other groups. This didn't happen for Japanese Americans that were, a part of the internment camps here in the United States. They received cash payments, and so did their descendants. This is the part a lot of people in America, I still don't think, know about this. They received cash payments, and their descendants also received cash payments. So what you notice is that when it comes to other groups, again, they are willing to do the full repair, but when it comes to descendants of slavery, they're not. And I really do feel like that is one of the tools of white supremacy. I feel like they are operating on behalf of white supremacy by convincing you that all you need is maybe a little bit of free education here, entrepreneurship opportunity there, and that's your reparations. They are shortchanging what is owed to freedmen. And there is a monetary amount that is owed, and they're trying to shortchange the community. And what makes it worse, when you look at people like the mayor there and also Summer Lee, is that, and Summer Lee knows this, by the way, Summer Lee knows that there's a monetary amount that is owed. They are getting other freedmen to do it for white supremacy. And this is the new narrative now, to convince you that this is reparations. That's not. You got to think about Black people. A lot of Black people don't have land, don't have home ownership, because we didn't have that generational wealth, because we didn't have the 40 acres and a mule. We didn't have to pass down. You can look at people from places like Seneca Village, which is now Central Park in New York City, by the way, that did start their own community, owned their own homes, had their own schools, and the city came in and they tore it down. They took the community and said, we're going to put green space here, and these things still happen today. It's just called gentrification. So every time after slavery, post-slavery, every time freedmen as a community decided to build wealth on their own, the government came in and tore it down, or it was burned down to the ground. So every time there was that opportunity to build that generational wealth, it was taken away. And that is something that we cannot just put that to the side. This is what I say to people that only want to focus on the class analysis. When you say that we'll provide these universal policies and it'll lift all boats, it does lift all boats, but Black people are still at the bottom. We've been at the bottom, and we're still at the bottom. We've stayed at the bottom. So giving everybody health care, giving everybody free college, again, that'll lift all boats, but we'll still be at the bottom. And if you look at the numbers, and this is something everyone may not be aware of, if you look at the numbers, white Americans aren't even at the top of the wealth ladder anymore. Asian Americans are.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons why I use the word equity instead of equality. Because equity would mean that it is seeing the displacement of a certain group, and it adds more in order to bring them to level with everyone else in order for it to be equal. And so I also want to share this as well, because if this was really reparations to the descendants of people who survived the Tulsa race massacre, This to me just smells fishy. It says the private charitable trust will be created with a goal to secure $105 million in assets, with most of the funding either secured or committed by June 1st of 2026. Nichols says the city council will have to approve the transfer of any city assets to the trust. The plan calls for the bulk of the funding, $60 million, to go towards improving buildings and revitalizing the city's north side. What does this mean?
Buildings that'll be torn down by the next tornado. Like, this is really embarrassing that they're trying to use money that is owed to freedmen for infrastructure. That's something the city and the state should just pay for anyway. So they're using money that is owed to you for infrastructure. This is a cheap shot. And I say, like, buildings that'll be torn down by a tornado anyway, because that's Tornado Alley. So what? 60 million instead of putting that money in the hands of freedmen in the community. Does everybody see the problem with this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because when I first read the story, it screamed at me. I was like, reparations? I'm like, oh, so he's doing something instead of the judge, because the judge denied it when they tried to get reparations. And so now he's like, okay, I'm going to step in and give reparations. But then it's like, wait a minute, this is not really reparations, because you're just trying to, here's what he's basically doing. He's giving Black people who have suffered the Tulsa Race Massacre a voucher. It's a voucher program.
Yep.
Right? So if let's say I owe you $100, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, here's a $100 voucher to plant a smoothie. How's that actually me giving you back what I owed you? Does that make sense? Is that fair? So Black people need to stop falling for the voucher programs and start saying, no, we gave you labor, or you took from us something of value, so therefore you have to give that value back in cash.
That's right, JB.
No more voucher programs.
No, you are, oh my God, JB, you are so spot on. That is it. That's exactly what this is. And unfortunately, I was excited when I saw that different states were going to try to implement reparations, but I'm noticing the states and the towns, they're not, this is not reparations. I mean, I was kind of excited about what was happening in California. Don't know where that's at now, but look, freedmen are owed so much and given so little. And this hasn't happened for other groups. And I have to say this, Wes Moore talking about entrepreneurship, right? Let me explain something. Why is it that certain groups are given the opportunity to start their own business in the US and not pay taxes on it for 10 years?
It's a good question.
Because that opportunity isn't offered to freedmen.
No.
You see what I mean? Like, this doesn't just go back to slavery. This also includes Jim Crow, redlining. I mean, I don't think people really understand that as much as progressives, champion FDR's New Deal, I don't think people really understand how racist those policies were towards the Black community. Redlining started under the New Deal. Do you guys know that kept us, like, literally kept us out of those suburbs? So when white flight happened and white people left the city and moved into the suburbs, we weren't allowed to follow because of redlining. So Black people remained in the cities. And when white people left, they took their money with them. And when they took their money with them, guess what? That removed resources for schools in the city. That's how you end up with underfunded schools.
Because schools are paid with property taxes.
Yeah, this isn't just about land and home ownership. This also is about education. So now all the Black people are stuck in the inner city with the underfunded schools. And then people say, do better. Then if we want to fast forward, you have the war on drugs, which targeted Black communities. You also have the school to prison pipeline, which also targeted Black communities, which is easy to do at these under-resourced, underfunded schools. Like it's all connected if you just add up, all the dots, the ways that they've made it so that they really did not. They're individual successful freedmen, but as a community, they made it so that that would not happen, that we would not get that type of opportunity. And that's important for people to understand.
Yeah. This is why it's so important for us to depend on ourselves instead of a politician, right?
That's right.
Yep. Basically. So I want to switch gears just a little bit. Because for those of you who are Black American who thought that Donald Trump was going to do something for us, I want to let you guys know that you guys have been bamboozled, run amok. You've been hoodwinked. He pulled a fast one on you. And here's why. For those of us who have young ones that are between the ages of 16 and 24, he's gutting Job Corps, which almost 50% of Job Corps recipients are Black. Let's get into this.
It's kind of sad they shutting everything down because I ain't got my education. I ain't got my license. I came back here to get my life together, and it's just confusing me how they shut it down.
I needed my high school diploma, all type of stuff. So, but I was working towards that so I can do my CDL because that was my #1 goal.
A lot of people in here don't got nowhere to go. A lot of people in here trying to change their life around, trying to get a house, trying to get a trade, trying to go to the union, trying to build money up so they can have a better life. Because some people come from
hurting more than you helping. The money is not the issue right now.
At Genesee Job Corps Center, 147 students were focused on building careers. Now, they're just trying to figure out what's next.
And there's also another video that I would like to share before I get your thoughts on this as well. And because it just shows how egregious the Trump administration is, and how, to be honest with you, the Trump administration also is against Black Americans as well. And so I want to get into this too. So let's take a look here as well. Oh, sorry about that.
They had us go to the wreck at about 1:30, and they broke the news to us, and they had us go to the dorms, pack our stuff.
The staff on site would not say a word to us, but sources tell us it was shut down after recent cuts at the Department of Labor, which oversees the program.
I didn't want him to be a statistic, so I wanted him to be focused and get his education.
16-year-old Carlton Davis lived here, and his mom recently lost their house, and there's more.
I have breast cancer surgery next week, so now I'm debating having my surgery canceled so I can make sure my son is okay.
I'm livid. I am livid. I cannot believe this.
Community activist Pastor Mo trying to help out here after getting calls from frantic mothers. He's worried about the short and long-term solutions for these kids.
The ones who are trying to get it right. This is why I'm so pissed off. These are not kids are in a youth home who got caught in a crime. These are kids who are trying to avoid getting caught in a crime.
So please give me your thoughts about what we just are hearing from the Trump administration.
Once again, removing opportunities from the Black community. This is why I don't understand why Black people in particular, well, I guess I do understand more so a vote against Kamala, but why they thought that Donald Trump was going to help the Black community, right? So I have friends that went to Job Corps right after high school. I have friends that went to Job Corps. I have friends that went to like AmeriCorps, and they learned like skills and trade, and it was really helpful for them. Like that program helped a lot of people. So if you pay close attention to what Donald Trump is doing, you notice that he's giving, or at least pandering, certain policies towards his white base, but he's actively removing things from the Black community. And his Black supporters, from what I see, are just very silent, kind of quiet about this. I'm just like, you guys aren't going to say anything about him removing Job Corps. You're not going to say anything about him taking these things away from the Black community. And some of the responses I get is, well, he's getting these illegal immigrants out of here, so that's all I care about. He's not actively doing anything for the Black community. And so for me, I don't know. I cringe, JB. I cringe because I don't know why people believe that in the first damn place. And they're like, well, he gave money to HBCUs. Okay, whoop-de-doo. A lot of the presidents do that. How many Black people are going to HBCUs? How many Black people are going to college? What about Black people that are not going to college? And you see him giving, like credence towards Robert E. Lee, former General Robert E. Lee and all this stuff. He is doing exactly what the racists, people from his base want, and also the evangelicals, the evangelical community. So he ain't thinking about Black people. He ain't thinking about you. You don't see him sitting down with you. You don't see him sitting down to try to, okay, well, what can we do that would help, the Black community? You don't see him doing that. And what kills me is like the Black Trump supporters don't want to admit it. You see these creators like online, the Hodge twins, Officer Tatum, they're not going to be critical because they make money off of criticizing their own community for the Republican Party. They make money off of being anti-Black. So you can't look to them for any truth about this and how you should feel about the situation. You can't look to them for that. So that's the thing. It's just, to me, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely astounding that at this point, Black people would even begin to dare to defend Donald Trump at this point. He did shit for the Black community, excuse my language. He done nothing for the Black community. And they still out there tap dancing for him. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I agree with you when you said that the Black community needs to collectively, we just need to start registering as independent.
Yeah, other groups do this. Mm-hmm. It's just this whole thing. And, I look back on things and we're like, even with the Democratic Party, like if the Democratic Party was a true anti-war, pro-worker, party, we probably wouldn't be in this situation, but they're not. They're just as corporate as the Republican Party. So that's how you get here.
Yeah. And there's also another twist. And, this is why I love my people, because we be thinking. We be thinking, and let me share this as well, because she got the hamster running on the wheel in my head, and I said, "Oh, let's listen to the system."
It's crazy how they got rid of Job Corps and then immediately opened up more listings for military recruitment positions. That's really, really interesting because I'm not gonna lie, it sounds like something the government would do. They would take away the funding for self-sufficiency for young adults, because that's what Job Corps was, basically to teach young adults how to acquire skills, trades, certifications, degrees, diplomas, things of that nature, and force them into a route of either possibly unemployment, likelihood of getting into trouble, crime, or joining the military. Yeah, that's not weird at all. Like I said, I just think that's kind of strange how the timing works with that. Job Corps was literally, like I said, something that a lot of people have used to become nurses, CNAs, truck drivers. It's just terrible, But yeah, also, if you...
So with that being said, like it, and the timing right now of what's going on with Iran and Israel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Too convenient.
Yeah, very, very convenient. Okay, so this is what Donald Trump is doing for the Black community. He's trying to push Black people to join the military, to go fight and die for a supremacist state.
Yeah. And it's like, why are we going to fight a battle for imperialists when they ain't do nothing for us anyway?
There it is.
That don't make no damn sense. Like, why are we? What are we doing here? You know. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it's so important for us to really just start looking at all these politicians and looking at the system itself with, you know, a very critical eye, because this system hasn't done anything right by us ever since our ancestors were kidnapped and brought here.
No.
So please go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's really it's so obvious they're really trying to push people to join the military. This is really what they're trying to do. And I think that people have to understand, you know, when you're growing up in those communities, the number one thing that's lacking is resources, right? So if you don't have the resources and the tools that you need to have those other opportunities, you know, it can be really easy for someone to just say, okay, recruiter shows up and they say, all right, well, I guess, you know, I have no other option. I have benefits or whatever, and we got bills and yada yada. I mean, this is how they recruit a lot of people. There's a reason why they recruit in Black, like low income Black neighborhoods. They're not trying to recruit people. They're not trying to recruit teenagers in Beverly Hills.
No,
Or
they're not.
Potomac Mills. Like, no, they're not trying to recruit those. So, and especially, and I have to say this, having lived in the South, and you're down South too, especially down South, military recruitment is heavy. Military recruiters came to, this is interesting. I didn't go to, you know, all Black high school or low income. I mean, we had different, you know, incomes at my high school, but because we were near Fort Bragg, they came to my high school. The recruiters came to our school. And like they would speak in front of our class. It's not like they came to our school and just had tables positioned out front of the school. And if you wanted to talk to them, you could. They came into our classrooms to recruit people. I kid you not. I kid you not. There was a recruiter that came to my house. The same one who came to our school. They were coming to people's homes. Yes. And my dad answered the door. My dad was like, hell no, she's not joining. Hell no, she's not joining the military. Dead serious. Like, I couldn't believe that guy showed up at my house. Yes, yes. That's how they are. So they're really looking for the people that, you know, need the money, have no other path or feel they have no other path. They really prey on those individuals to join. And then there are some who sign up because they feel like they really are fighting for their country. But I would say most of what I've seen is economic despair.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. And then, of course, there's one more thing that I want to bring up, and this is what we talked about last night, but this comment goes really well with it. Gone says those red line zones, neighborhoods are still the most unhealthy communities to this day. And with that being said, we talked about what Elon Musk, the billionaire, is doing in Memphis, Tennessee. Let's take a look at this classic.
Elon Musk, we do not want here in Memphis. This is a public hearing for the air permit being considered for the XAI facility.
See, I got asthma. My mama got asthma. My grandma used to get home, 87 years old, got asthma, and she never had it before. I can't breathe at home. It smells like gas outside.
We've shown up here today because we're tired of going in and out of hospitals, going in and out of funeral homes. We've been paying taxes and we've been dying, and what we're saying is that stops now.
I'm going to invite a representative up from the applicant XAI, Mr. Brent Mayo, to come up and have a few words with the community.
Hello, XAI is committed to meeting the highest standard of emissions. XAI is going above and beyond the required emission control.
populated high schools in Memphis. Over 2,000 students in that building. And to build something that close to those kids, I mean, shameless.
I'm gonna skip over Malcolm next. Yeah. So I can't hear from Malcolm next. Oh gosh, he's still talking. Hang on. Hold up. Okay. Rather not hear from him.
Stage 4 colon cancer. Other aunt lives across the street from her, kidney cancer. And I smell the smells. I see it in my job every day now. I'm not lying. They're not lying. We're not lying. We need the permit to be denied.
We deserve clean air. We deserve to be able to live in our communities and live long lives.
It's time to start telling the truth. The truth is that XAI, who just ran up out of here, they have no controls that prevent air pollution or decrease air pollution in their factories. None. That's the truth.
Do the right thing. Deny this permit. Elon Musk, we can't say it any plainer. We do not want him in Memphis.
Auntie wasn't playing right there, but
I like her.
I like her too. But I know we talked about this last night, but let's put this together with health disparities within the Black community, as well as the abuse that is happening because of capitalists. We got to name the names. Capitalists like Elon Musk.
So this isn't the first time that this has happened, right? We've talked before about Cancer Alley, which is in Louisiana, area down there. Bill Gates has been known to come into like communities and steal water and other resources. So Elon isn't the first billionaire to do this. And polluting Black communities is also not a new thing. This has been happening for quite some time. The question I think that people should be asking is, why is this country allowing that to happen? And why hasn't this been stopped? Why hasn't it been repaired? And as I told you before, I really think they want us to die off. I go back to healthcare. I go back to Social Security. And remember what we were talking about before. Before the big pharma companies, the original reason why they didn't want everyone to have universal healthcare in this country is because they didn't want Black people to have healthcare. And so now let's tie this to Social Security. If Black people don't have health care, or if most of us don't have health care, how likely are we to make it to 65 to get Social Security? So you see what I'm saying? This is all intentional. Now, as a result of these policies, it also impacted poor and low income white people. But that intentionally was not the plan. The plan was to target Black people, particularly in this country. So I've said this over and over. As a community, they really do not want us to thrive. They don't want us to succeed. They'll allow a couple of Black people, like individuals here and there, to get that bag. You know what I'm saying? To get the bag, to do well. But as a community, they really do not want us to get to that level. So when people say, why is it that other people can come to this country and do really well, and Black Americans, what's your excuse? We haven't been given the same opportunities that you've been given. We aren't given the opportunity to have the first 10 years tax-free if we start a business. We're not given those opportunities, right? So that's another thing that people need to think about. Why? Again, they don't want us to succeed. Also, every time we did start those businesses and we did start thriving communities, the government came in and took the land either by eminent domain or it was burned to the ground. Yep. You have not had to experience that. You were allowed to come in and build thriving communities. We were already here and we weren't allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So
and
this is why I say when people talk about solidarity, et cetera, and all those types of things, you have to get past your white supremacy thinking. You got to get past that. And when you come and point your fingers at us and you don't understand the struggle and what we've been through, that's another thing. You have never been in our shoes, as a community. So you don't come here and then start pointing fingers at the group of people that has been the most marginalized and oppressed in this country, even to the point where there were laws against us on the books. You don't get to come here and point your fingers at us and say, why aren't we doing better when you were given opportunities that we were not?
Yeah.
And that's why we don't really have that built-in solidarity like that. That's why when people say people of color, which I had to get away from that term, because even with people of color, it is very clear that Black people that are part of that term, people of color, are not included in this so-called coalition with the other people of color, because they have decided to align themselves with the white community and with what works best for white supremacy every time. And I think people really need to hear this. So we've talked about that before. There's finger pointing towards immigrants. There's finger pointing towards Black Americans, and I think where the general consensus needs to be is that it is downright disrespectful to point your finger at those of us who were brought to this country, our ancestors brought here as slaves, who worked for free and weren't paid anything, weren't allowed to have any generational wealth or to get to where you are. It is damn right disrespectful to come here and to treat us as such, as though we are the enemy after everything our people have been through. So when people want solidarity, that has to come from both sides.
Yeah.
All of it cannot be on the Black community. And I had to say that.
Yeah. It can't be one-sided. It takes two to tango, right? Absolutely. And also, just another thought before I let you go. I find it interesting how we are 13% of the population, and we've been 13% of the population for how long?
I know.
It's like, why haven't our numbers grown?
Say
Interesting,
it, JB.
right?
Say it, JB.
Because, and here's the thing, other groups have grown within this country, other minorities have grown to the point where, one of them outnumbers us now. But when it comes to Black Americans, especially, we've been 13% of the population for decades upon decades upon decades. Our numbers have not grown. Sounds like we're keeping low on purpose as well. So,
well, you think about like the prison industrial complex.
Yeah, it's true.
And police brutality.
Yeah, and so I just one more question. As far as solutions are concerned, because I don't want to leave people thinking all is lost. Those of us who are Black people, particularly those of us who are freedmen, Black Americans, what is one of the best ways in your mind that we can do in order to really combat this system? Because it's really a systemic thing. It's not an individual thing.
Well, first and foremost, we need to leave the Democratic Party. Black people, like, if you still want to vote, register as an independent. Don't stay registered as a Democrat. Fuck the Democratic Party. First step. Second step, if you're not already doing so, we have to organize within our communities, right? So JB and I, we organize, we do mutual aid, etc. You figure out what path works best for you. I'm not going to, wag my finger at you and say you have to do this said action, right? You figure out what works best for you and your community. But step one, leave the Democratic Party. Step two, focus more on organizing, community building, and helping each other on the local level. All this, let's elect this person for president and that's going to change everything BS. That's not it. Like that's not, there's no hero. There's no hero. You can still vote for the presidential candidate, but that's not going to, again, what did you see? We had Republican, flipped right back to Democrat, flipped right back to Republican. What did they improve for the Black communities? So we have to empower ourselves. And for those who have been able to climb that ladder, those who have become wealthy and have been able to succeed, you know, who tend to just ride off into the sunset and not leave that ladder down behind them, that's also part of the problem. Because you, in my opinion, I feel like you have a duty to give back to the community. You have a duty, and that is, and I don't mean donating like some basketball court. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about donating, getting involved in organizing with the community in a way that breaks the poverty cycle. And if you're not doing that, and you're just, I just bought this basketball court for said neighborhood that I grew up in, then you're not serious about Black liberation, and you're not serious about getting Black people to a different plane. You're not.
Yeah. Also, not all Black people like to play basketball.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Have you seen me play basketball? It's a tragedy. Yeah. But anyways, let me share this with you. I just want to thank you for being here, but I also want to share your documentary fund that you are raising for your documentary talking about gentrification. If you guys have not assist Sabby with this documentary to be finished for the editing, I am very excited for this. If you know, I'm sure that many others are excited to see the finished product, and so I just wanted to share this. And you have a documentary about gentrification coming up soon.
Yes, I'm super excited about this. Again, we've filmed a lot. We have a lot of footage, as well as news clips, etc. And I have a professional editor that is piecing things together. I'm doing voiceovers, etc. And mainly this is to pay him, because we just film, you know, like we have our own cameras that we use to film with. But this is to make sure that, you know, he gets his just due, what he's owed. And thank you to everyone that has already donated.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so very much for joining me, Sabs. Thank you. This was a very wonderful conversation. I can't wait to have more about this as well.
Thanks, JB. I just want to shout out. I see Eric said JB not draining 3-pointers.
Nope. Look, the only thing I can possibly do is lay my body on the court, and hopefully you'll trip over me so that, you know, Sabby can make a basket. That's all I can do.
All righty. Thank you, JB.
All right, you're welcome. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so very much. That was my comrade Sabby Sabs joining to talk about this very clear and present issue regarding Black Americans and gaining equity in this country. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. This is just some of the tidbits of conversation that me and Sabs will have, you know, off camera, off stream, right? We have conversations like this all the time. And so I just wanted to bring that to the fore to all of you so that you guys can kind of be a fly on the wall while we're having these conversations. And so I just want to thank you guys for tuning in for that. So go ahead and give the stream a like. Thank you so very much to everybody that's tuning in. Appreciate it very much. We're going to do a shout out to the patrons, and then we'll get into the comments after that. All right. So let's get into this. Let's give out some thank yous, shall we? All right. So shout out to the patrons on Patreon. And here are the tiers for keeping the lights on around moi. Says Mega Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Jaybefaunters, Comrades, Solidarity, and JB members, and to all future members who are also contributing, thank you so very much. And thank you so very much to Champa Breeze for being one of the new patron members. I appreciate it. And it means everything to me. So thank you so very much. And while that being said, I also just let you guys know my channel is demonetized. So if you'd like to support the channel, you can support via Patreon or PayPal as well. Thank you so very much for that. Now, by the way, also Sabby's fundraiser is also linked in the description down below as well. You guys can go ahead and contribute there if you like. But let's get into the comments, shall we? All right, so I just checked Rockfin to see if we have any. I'm sorry, not Rockfin. I mean Rumble. See if we have any Rumble rants. We're pretty good there so far. Let's get into the rest of the chat. So we're going to start off from the top. So Gone says, I've heard quite a bit about Iran having nukes. It seems straightforward that if your allies have nukes, you have nukes too. Yeah, kind of, yeah. But at the same time, it's like they don't have that as a deterrent. And so for when it comes to Iran, like if they don't have them, they don't have them. Like Libya didn't have them, and look what happens to Libya. You know, and so of course, clearly, you know, it's just it's tragic that you would need something like that as a deterrent, but given the the West and how invasive they are, you know, these are more of a means to have a deterrent so that you know your country's not destabilized. We have Eric coming in saying the corporate oligarchy will unalive us all. Just have a more profitable quarter. Absolutely. They will destroy us in order to make another dollar. Jeanette says, I see everyone losing in a nuclear war. Unfortunately, yes, this is also true. The problem is that you have these Western powers that want to control basically the world are the ones with the nukes, and it, you know, keeps that fear going because they're the ones that are willing to use it. Just ask Japan. They've made an example out of Japan in order to show the rest of the world what they're capable of. And they're not willing to completely take out their stockpile, which honestly, you know, shows that they want to keep that threat alive. Roby says, remember, for some Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and military, this is just a job, not about they are pro-Israel. Yeah, and that's the sad part, is that they know that, not they, but as in the people who are in the military, but the powers that be know that they're dangling these things in front of their eyes. And they know that also the propaganda keeps them from knowing more about the, you know, what the military does. Thankfully, there's a lot of people that are learning, but some people aren't there yet because they're still under the propaganda. They're still thinking that the United States is, you know, doing some good around the world. And then they'll believe the propaganda about these particular countries being dictatorships and they're trying to destroy us, when in reality, the United States really, you know, every accusation is a confession. And that's what the United States is doing. And so, unfortunately, you know, some people are still, you know, under the illusion that they're at least doing something, you know, moderately good, you know, when in reality, they're just perpetuating the empire. Let's continue on. Roger Meadow says North Korea is China's little brother. They will join before Putin. That might be true. That might be true. Plus, you know, Putin's kind of busy with Ukraine right now. So, and that's intentional because the United States wants Putin to be busy with Ukraine. But also Russia has considerable resources militarily. So, if they feel like they need to fight on two different fronts, they might just do that. Roger says, to all my Zoomers, don't you dare go enlist in the military. You don't owe another country your life. What do you think when you come back with PTSD and end up homeless, Israel is going to give you? Yeah. You're not going to get a thing. And guaranteed, you're going to come back with some type of debilitating mental condition or physical condition or both, or you may come back in a box, because that's how the United States treats anybody that fights for the freedoms that the United States says is under threat. CBC voter says, wait, is that Sabby Sabs? Yes, the queen bee herself. Roger says, Sabby mispronounced Tunisia again. It's so cute. Roger, you're like one of those like older teenage brothers when your parent just had a new kid. And it's like you're like 13, 14 years old, and you got like a little baby sister that's like 2 years old, and she says something like really adorable, and you're just like, and then Roger, would you be that teenage boy that would bring your baby sister around girls just so that you can get some play? Look at my baby sister, isn't she cute? And next thing you know, all the girls want to be around you. All the girls and ladies want to be around you, and you know, and then they think you're very sensitive because you're taking care of your little sister. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's hilarious. Okay, CBC voter says, hit the button, please. Yes, please hit the like button for me. Let me see. Be easy, that dude coming in with the solidarity fist. All right. Thank you so very much for joining me. All right. We have Adventures in the Free World says Stein could have won. Possibly. That is true. You know, especially if she hadn't been blocked by corporate media. We saw what happened on the Breakfast Club, right? Definitely there. Fireplay says Job Corps started as a forestry program under Johnson. Then it morphed into a boondoggle for abusive nonprofits. See, this is one of the arguments that I make. It's like, I think that the concept of Job Corps is good. It's just the execution and making it means tested gave room for cuts, gave an excuse, I should say, for cuts. It gave an excuse for people to look down upon the people who are utilizing that service. And so this is why I think that Job Corps should be the reins should be taken away. By reins, I mean, you know, you should expand it so that it includes anybody that's over the age of 16 till let's say from ages 16 until 65, right? So make it more universal and basically make it into a federal jobs guarantee, right? So then it becomes more universal, and so it's harder to get rid of. It's harder to cut. And then it helps more people. And, if we can, we have state versions, right? We have state job guarantees. Hell, while we're at it, we might as well go municipal job guarantees, right? But the thing is, the reason why I say federal job guarantees is because, like for instance, Sabby had on Steep Run Buying last night. It's like it would be nothing for them to just hire more people. And then, the money that's already in the system, well, you tax the ultra rich. That takes some of that money out of the system. So then there's not a huge amount of inflation. Which reminds me, I have to finish reading The Deficit Myth by Stephanie Kilson. I got the book. I just need to finish reading it. Anyways. But yeah, I think Job Corps should have been expanded. Let me see. Be Easy That Dude said, how is this pro-life? Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, what happens in places like Memphis, that's not pro-life. You're literally killing off people. And how many pregnant Black women are in Memphis that are breathing in that air that it's going to affect their babies? Right? What about the little kids that are going to school? The kids that are in pre-K. The kids that are in nursery school. The kids that are in kindergarten. That as their little brains are developing, now they have to breathe in all this toxic air? All for Elon Musk to make a few more $1 billion? You know? Be Easy continues to say this is a class issue. Since it's Black people, no one cares. I don't think it's no one. I just think there needs to be more people that care. But unfortunately, I can't combat your argument for saying no one. That part makes me sad, because for every 10 examples I would cite to you and saying that people care, you probably have 100 examples of people who don't. And that's the part that makes me sad, because it's like, what can I really say against it? You know, I'm just hoping that more people wake up and they start to have more solidarity with us. And this is why channels like this and RBN and Sabby Sabs exist, because more people need to talk about it. Yes, Eric, who also will be on next Tuesday. He says, and have a list of clear demands. Absolutely. Thank you so very much for that. Let's go into some more before I head out. Marco Padilla says, worker co-op Job Corps. Somebody is thinking. Somebody's brain is bigger than mine. I like it. I like it a lot. See, this is why I love my audience, because my audience is a bunch of brilliant people that actually help me to think deeper. I see you. I see you. John says, I hope Sabby got enough sleep this morning, because yesterday's calling was definitely something. Oh, you know what? I went to bed early because I went to the gym yesterday. I'm still sore. And yesterday, you know, it was officially 8 weeks since my transplant surgery. So I was cleared to go back to the gym. Baby, I'm still sore. Lord, it's a lot. But anyways, thank you very much for that. I did that with my niece. So you did bring him around other women so that you can get some play. Oh man, Roger. I hope you met some nice ladies though. Jay asked JB, do you think Black nationalism is compatible with Pan-Africanism? Here's the thing. I think, how can I word this? I think that Pan-Africanism, the idea should be to embrace Black Americans also as, you know, in their issues as their own issue within the United States, but also having solidarity with them. And of course, Black people throughout the diaspora outside the United States should have solidarity with us, and we should have solidarity with them. The problem is that a lot who come here, and this is really a means of it's a means of self-preservation, is you try to imitate the more dominant groups so that you make out better in this system. And who's the most dominant group? That is white Americans. And unfortunately, some will use or adopt white supremacist views and then reject those of us who are Black American, so then they can maintain a higher standing economically within the system. And because of that, this shows that there is a division that happens. And this division that is caused because of white supremacy, that you'll have now different groups that will look at each other with disdain. And some don't understand what it's like being in our shoes, having been stolen, our ancestors have been stolen, brought here, and then having to have been a permanent class of second, really third class citizens. And so then you're brought in and treated just a little bit better than the rest of us. And instead of advocating for us and going, hey, we just got here, but they've been here this entire time. Why are you guys doing better for them? Some keep their mouth shut because they don't want to rock the apple cart. Because a lot of them think to themselves, well, if I rock the apple cart, I'm getting deported. Or I'm not going to make it in this country and I'm going to have to go back. And it's a sad situation because the ruling class will do whatever it can to keep the working class divided, whether it's among citizenship status, whether it's among genders, whether it's among cisgendered heterosexuals against LGBTQ, whether it's neurodivergent versus, typical neurotypicals. It's various different intersections where they will divide and keep us divided. But what does this mean? This means that what white supremacy tries to get us to adopt, we have to reject it wholeheartedly in order to have solidarity with each other. But this means that multiple groups would have to take those ideas, that bigotry that is pushed on us, and throw it away, even at the cost of this perceived self-preservation that white supremacists say that we have to maintain in order for us to be okay. And so it's no different than Black Americans who are very hateful and discriminatory to their other Black Americans who are LGBTQ. You're doing the work of white supremacists too. I'm just going to say it. You're doing the work of them because now you're further dividing even our own community into 2 or 3. And then you also have the gender wars that's happening, that's constantly perpetuated as well. Right? And then you also have the anti-Blackness that happens with some immigrants that, they may have that because they found out quickly as soon as they got here that, oh, we can't be like those other ones. We got to be like the white people in order to be able to survive. So you have to reject that as well. So those of us who are in different intersections, we're sitting here going, where's there a place for us? And so we have to have that solidarity, but it also has to be done. All parties have to be involved in trying to create solidarity with each other. And equally, you can't expect it to be one-sided. And unfortunately, Black Americans are expected to always come to the table first, whereas other groups don't have to come to the table first or at all. So, of course, I get that. But also, the other side is we know what white supremacy is trying to do. We know what this capitalist system is trying to do. And they're trying to keep us divided so that we can't succeed. But we have to care about others while still caring about our own communities. We can do both. But yeah, Pan-Africanism, it can be. It can be. Because you can have solidarity with, because somebody who's Pan-Africanist can have solidarity and with the Black Americans, and Black Americans can have solidarity with, people who are Pan-African, as long as we take the anti-Blackness, anti-Black American sentiments away, as well as any type of xenophobia that some of us may have, and throw that away. And so we come together, but then we recognize, okay, we're going to cheer for you for your liberation here. And, while we're cheering for you, then they're cheering for us when it comes to the liberation of people who are throughout the diaspora. And so it's really a symbiotic relationship within the diaspora. And I think that's what we need, a symbiotic relationship. So hope that answers your question. But I think that's pretty much all I'm going to be doing for today. Let's get into what I also wanted to share as well before I head out. So also, as you guys know, I had a kidney transplant. And so, of course, they cut my Social Security disability benefits. And so that makes it harder for me to survive a little bit. So if you guys would like to assist me in, my recovery from transplant, you guys can do that as well. I put the link in the description, but if you guys would like to share, then I will also put the link in the description as well. Sorry, in the chat as well. And if you guys, just want to share, that's great too. But thank you so very much for that. So let's see here. Roger, and then I'll head on out. Okay, Roger says, following are things that the military uses as a bargaining chip to get you to enlist. Easier to get a home, government healthcare, free college, free training in tech and vocational schools. Solutions runabout measures for the following: decommodified housing, single payer, free colleges and universities, free vocational and technical training. Now, here's one thing I will say about the free technical training. And this is in line with what Roger's saying. I have two brothers, both older. Yes, I'm the youngest, and I cute, but I have two older brothers. One is going back to school for a medical assistant with a specialty in radiology. I have another brother that also went back to school, and now he is going for welding. And they're both in their 40s. So with that being said, imagine if we had more technical vocational school that was free at the point of service, just like high school. Imagine how many of us people, and particularly since we're talking about the Black community, how many of us Black people would be able to go back to school and get a technical vocational education in order to help our upward mobility. Imagine how many young people would this help, so that they wouldn't have to go to military, so they wouldn't have that other option. Yeah. See where their mind's going? I like it. He says, with each of these you could implement at state level using citizen ballot initiative amendments. You take another chess piece off the board for the Pentagon to use. And yes, I am exactly, yeah. Uh-oh. Nice. Okay. Thank you so very much. All right. Now, and I saw this. Wait. One more. Hang on. And Eric says, in demand number 3, implement federal job guarantees to provide good jobs at a living wage. See? Demands. All right. So, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to my sister, Sabby Sabs, for joining me for this very important and enlightening discussion. Yes, she's brilliant. I got to step my game up. And yes, I plan on to have her back on sooner because, I left this, it's too long of a space, but yeah. Thank you so very much to everybody for tuning in. I will catch you guys on the JB show on Sunday. And then, of course, you guys can see me this Tuesday where I have Eric T. Red on to talk more about 11 demands and some further developments. We're going to get into that, and as well as some news stories we're going to get into. And also look forward to further readings. I know I kind of fell off the horse, but we'll get back on that horse and we'll be riding along when it comes to the reading again. All right. So, like I always say, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then watch something funny because joy is revolutionary. Or read because reading is fundamental. I love you guys for watching. And forehead kisses. And giddy up. I'll see y'all in the next one. Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.